Hey everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Okay, just wanted to let you know for all my members or anyone watching what I'm doing, if I just uploaded all my content for the pairs trading arbitrage with equities, that's now available and enabled. We've got our other phase as well that's been enabled as well. Just test it, seems to work okay, and that's going to focus on options and futures for commodities. So let's do a little rewind process on the history of where I've come from and how I started. Back in the day, when I started, about 5.5 years ago, which took me back to 2010 roughly, there weren't a lot of open source trading platforms, as well as any real electronic trading systems at high speed, which were very expensive. So I set off to learn about all this, and 5+ years later, we ended up with quite literally 1,300 videos on YouTube. And out of that, I've divided as much as I can and best as I can into various topics of technology, uh, frameworks, programming languages, you name it, I've got it here. And this is where a lot of my stuff goes, as well as anything new like my Academy or WordPress, but I don't like to remove stuff. So I'm not at a point now where I'm going through a major transition to come out of teaching and educating or blogging about technology related around trading, even though that is probably my favorite part of the whole process. It comes down to a point now where there's so many players in this game doing the same thing and doing it for free, and then the expectation that people want things for free. It's time for me to move on out of this space. And the other big factor that I'm noticing is there are a lot of traders out there that are getting laid off, losing their jobs, and probably revisiting their career options at wherever they're at in their career. So a lot of them will choose to go down the path of trying to do automated trading, high speed trading, algorithmic trading, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of them don't make it just due to the fact that they don't have what it takes to keep up with the technology that is now pretty well displacing them out of the market and out of trading altogether. I can say that over the last probably 2 months, more and more returns are going out, just due to the fact that people are coming in, they're highly motivated, but they can't keep up with the programming. And that's a shame because I don't want to leave those people behind. But on the other hand, it becomes a big disadvantage for them because they're not able to understand the technology, which is kind of critical to have in today's trading era edge. I don't think you can no longer trade as a human trader anymore. Even if you were to look at Goldman Sachs, probably one of the premier institutions out there for this field, they will say they're no longer a trading firm; they are a technology company, and we can say that through this set of channels. So, because of that, over the time, how this whole thing has evolved is it has basically had me not tutoring people, but doing lengthy videos and helping out people, another big factor which I do enjoy doing. The problem is with that, it takes away my focus from actually getting to where I want to go, which is trading and actually having a trading operation for myself as a trading business. So that's one of the big reasons why you could say there's that delay, because 75% of my time is focused on that, which can be productive if that's the direction you want to go, but that ultimately is not where I want to go. So I try to think about how do I go about doing this, and this is all I do. My time management is only focused on this, either strategy development or understanding the technology and developing the technology so I can take my strategy or my trading idea and implement it onto my actual trading technology. Whoop, let me just get rid of that. All right, so back to our discussion here. So I started thinking, what am I going to do? And I thought, okay, the best option for me to do is just basically get out of teaching technology. I've got tons and tons of free resources. I've got tons and tons of resources available on my membership. So in July, I'll be moving out of this whole space when you get everything for free, all the cloud solution providers and the books and the blah, 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 blah. A lot of people are piling in, but from my perspective, it's just getting too crowded, too saturated. It's time for me to get out and start moving into other things. So I'm going to show you how I'm transitioning into that. All right. So if you remember or thinking about it, this is the back end if you become a member. You get these dashboards. So I've got this one dashboard here called Indie Python Algo Trading Course. It's my entire course series that I launched back in January. And essentially, there's everything divided up into sections. That's why I call it a course series. So over the last 3 months, I've been focusing on building block infrastructure. And this is specifically in the Python programming language. We cover off all the basic but major components of any trading system. Databases, data sources, your broker, visualization. So we've covered a lot of that off. So now, that's great. You have a trading system, but what about trading strategy? Well, I've provided now a set of code in 2 separate strategies. I should take that back. Provide a set of code in one strategy, and then there's another strategy that we'll talk about in a minute. But this particular strategy is the one I've been talking about. It starts actually in a couple hours. Is the Python algo, indie trading business, blah, 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 arbitrage, pair trading with equities. Okay. So what that means is we have equities, which include stock, ETF, mutual funds, etc. Anything that basically that Yahoo Finance tracks. So these set of 9 units include source code and provide all the necessary steps to enable you to have a pair trading strategy. But here's the thing. After I did a meetup last night, everyone's going on about the methodology of backtesting. These kind of strategies don't have backtesting because these are systematic type of strategies. And what I'm saying there is that they go out into the market, they look for opportunities using forward-looking data. Here we got European and U.S. Fed data that you can use to find potential hot market sectors that you can scan on a broad scale level. There's about 200 plus of them, different sectors. From each sector, you can pick a long and a short, and then from there you can go through using a screening process to see which pair, long or short, that you want to trade on with a variety of trading techniques. These include technical analysis, statistics, and once you're comfortable, the system's comfortable, then you can put on a trade. Then we have to talk about position management and some other metrics for the exit, for implied volatility, let's say, or R squared, which is another way of saying beta. And then also you have to use on your risk management, which includes something like a Kelly criterion. So that pretty well is about 9 weeks that I'll be presenting material starting tonight on May 10th, 2016. Now again, I'm only doing this once. I'm not going to be doing this every 3 months, every 4 months. I'm not an educator. I'm just going to be showing people my latest, call it research if you want, and what I'm learning, and be able to automate it and turn it into an actual trading systematic process via code. And I'm doing that again in Python because it's, from my perspective, probably the easiest language to pick up on if you're coming from the non-programming world. So that's the first strategy that I'm looking at. Now, the other strategy, which is really focusing on options and futures for commodities, but there's a kind of caveats here. These are for non-equity securities. These include commodities, mostly including agriculture, metals, finance, and when I'm saying finance, I'm referring to treasury, to T-bill, euro dollar, and currencies on futures. So yen or US dollar or whatever, plus the stock indices futures. Okay, so all of these is at this point the phase that I use to transition out of technology into more what we'll call talking like a trader. When I say talking like a trader, we're talking about concepts that many either don't believe or don't use for whatever reason. These are fundamental drivers. And I watch Bloomberg TV day in, day out. I don't watch CNBC for a specific reason because I don't want to trade like retail traders who use technical analysis and history to forecast their future trading. To me, that's not how it's done. So there's a course out there that I've constantly gone on about from UC Davis about this exact topic on futures and options trading. So I've taken that material and I've now taken it and going to turn it into actual code to automate it. But it's pretty vast. There's about 25 videos in that course, about 45 minutes a piece. And that's what I use actually when people come to me and say, well, what's the secret? What do I do? Where do I start? I send them to that course on YouTube. And my philosophy is if you cannot get through that course, 45-minute videos, don't waste my time. Because you don't have what it takes to be an actual true trader. Not from the perspective to understand the basic fundamentals. Again, let me underline that fundamental, understanding supply and demand and the equilibrium of the supply and demand in the markets when they go out of whack and things start to happen which affects pricing. But there's many ways to circumvent that and actually forecast off that. For instance, you have demand and storage, yield curve, cost to carry model, interest rate parity, all these concepts that are important, and temporal pricing theory. Then we get into hedging. Okay, we do things like options introduction to understand what options are. In this concept, we are using options as where the future is the underlying, and there's a way to either trade an option for a specific set of conditions or to trade a future. And this course will show you that. So continuing along with the options, we look at things like call put parity, Black-Scholes, and then we get into sort of like the Greeks, including the delta effect. And then we look at the hedging option on top of, hedging on top of options. And then again, there's that scenario I've talked about. Do we use option trading or futures? And there's an analysis you can go through that. So again, I'm planning to automate all this. So this is where things change and radically shift. Like I said, the source code exists here. All of these include source code. This one, module 9, starting tonight, includes source code. But here's the caveat. The source code from here on out stops. We're now, as I said, shifting into a new focus, bringing real traders, getting them into the discussion, because I don't want to lose these traders. I've already lost enough because they cannot keep up with the technology. I get that, but they have an important voice. So where do we go from here once we get through this set of courses as well as the FX one on the macro view? Well, this is where things change and change radically. As I said earlier, I'm getting out of technology and educating on the platform. This course takes place roughly starting July 2016. Okay, so once I start moving into that, I'll be more focused and more geared towards trading and talking about trading as I get stronger and more confident in my capabilities in that field. That's what I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to stay out of the world of technology. So that's what you can expect, and what's going to come out on the other side of this as well as my FX, well, if you've been following me enough, you'll notice here in my WordPress playlist, I have gone on about WordPress plugins, and I've sourced them out. So that means that I'll be able to take those plugins, deploy them into, quite possibly, to this membership or derivative of some kind, so that you'll be able to access, let's say, my watch list, my system that I'm building with these concepts. You'll be able to follow those trading pairs, if it's a commodity, if it is an FX currency pair, or if it's an actual equity pair for arbitrage. So I'll be providing that for sure, and maybe depending upon regulatory and legal practices of what I can and cannot do, I'll provide as best as I can the ability to signal what the system's going to do. If it's going to go in with an entry or an exit or the complete analysis of that, which I know for sure I can do. So I'll provide that. And out of that, you'll notice here we've got a little chat box. I don't have this for no apparent reason. This chat box is the back end to a chat room that enables me to have a variety of people to talk to while this system's running and watching it, because 80% of your time is just basically managing a portfolio and 20% trading, and that's pretty well how it works in the world of professional traders. So we'll be doing that and just going through discussions down the line once this hopefully gets up and running, be able to talk about what the system's doing and the data it's generating, the data it's seeing, and talk about it in a community behind the scenes as part of this Quant Elite membership. And then from there, other new strategies may come out that will add to the arsenal of the system, and talk about those data points that get generated as well. So that's the direction I'm wanting to go. You can see I'm no longer wanting to talk about technology. If you want to do that, go to another site. There's tons of them out there for free, and you can learn and do all that stuff. But this is a totally different mind shift and a totally different audience than where we're going. Okay, because as I said, if you look at my audience, we've got over 46%, something like that, 45% that make over $150,000 per year doing this. So I want to focus and cater to those people, okay? And obviously there's going to be another batch that's not part of that 45% that want to make $150,000 a year. And these concepts will be able to be talked about for those people to get caught up and learn how to make that kind of income as a trader. And again, that's not a stat that I play with, and I'm going to say this once more. For any guru out there or any teacher that may be watching this, there's a site here called Quantcast. And what I want them to do is to get themselves on Quantcast as a third-party measurement. This will measure your audience on our traffic, that who comes into our website. But here's what I want people to really understand, really understand. The demographics here that we use measures this site because our site is quantified by Quantcast. So you can see here we're at 237 people out of that total that make over 150,000. That will be, I don't know, 45% of my traffic, my audience that make that kind of money. On top of, a lot of them will have grad school as well. So if you want to be part of this community and living proof of that, verified, and it's credible, you can get that through Quantcast on our site. And why do I do it? It's very simple, because this is no BS way to do it. This is a measurement that they use that a lot of third party take seriously in terms of measuring a profile of a website. But when you get these kind of numbers, I can sit here with confidence saying that is no BS, and that's been verified by this company called Quantcast. So I want people to understand that you want to be part of this community, and you want to get up to these kind of income levels, that's what you got to do. So when I say 150K a year, that's what I'm referring to, because that's our audience, and I know some people are doing probably 10 times 10 of that in my community. So back to here, all this content. Last thing is that this content's going to have a shelf life, a very, very limited shelf life, meaning over time all this code is going to be pulled off of my site. So my philosophy has always been to teach people what I learned. That I started since day one. But it's going to change, because this stuff that I have here is very sensitive. And I want people to understand this, that this will be pulled off of my website over time. So the sooner you get on it, the better it is for you, and the more you can value from it. So, yeah. But because this will enable people, including myself, to be able to build out trading systems from it, and very possibly potential high profitable ones, this enables me to then take this data that this system generates and turn it into a new type of service, data analytics, with this little chat room that I talked about. So hopefully that'll help you out. So everybody out there, this has now been uploaded, it's now available, and this is now available too, just so if everybody knows that is new to how this works. When you sign up, you will come to the very first module. You'll be able to highlight this module. Just click it like any other hyperlink. You go through the content. There's going to be videos, source code. Once you're done, you go to next unit, but you have to mark it off. So let me just show you the latest area that I'm marked off as. Okay, so what you do here is you go through all this content section by section, and it will enable you, as you mark it off, it will enable you to go through that content. So here, this is the latest area I have enabled. So I just, I want to learn about initial technical analysis, blah 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 stuff. Fine. Go through the content, blah 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 blah, consume it, videos, source code, and what you'll get here is, have you completed this unit? And then you go mark as completed. Then you can move on to the next unit. It's a very simple concept. It's a way to force yourself to make sure that you go through the content and you mark off and you acknowledge that you supposedly understand this content. I could put in exams and send out little dinky certificates and make you feel good about yourself, but I know most people aren't going to really value that, and industry won't either. I know that as a fact. But as you can see here, as you move into the next unit, it will say mark is completed. Once you're done, mark is completed, and then that will enable the next unit for you, and you move on to that next unit. And all you got to do is, if you want to come back to the dashboard, just kind of in the algo trading course, and that will list off all the content that you have, and then you have access to the latest one that you just worked on. Pretty simple. All right, hopefully this will help you out. So again, all this stuff is now available, and again, what's available is not going to be up forever. No formal deadline yet, but it's probably going to be removed sometime in the fall of 2016, maybe sooner, maybe sections may be taken out sooner, I don't know. But it is up for a limited time, so I would highly recommend you to take full advantage. Talk to you later.